crisscross, pulling floss, needle thread from black to red, pink, navy green, and in between, snuggles my brain. I'm Stitch Me Sane, and welcome to my Flosstube channel.
Hello, my name's Carla. Welcome to my Flosstube channel at Stitch Me Sane. It's been a little while. Today is Saturday the 8th of April here in Australia, and it's Easter Saturday and a long weekend for us. I apologise, it has been nearly a month since I filmed a Flosstube, so this is Flosstube number 9. Welcome to all my existing subscribers and welcome to anyone who is new here. This is a channel where I talk about my love of all things cross-stitching. So if this is not something that you're into, you might want to continue on because that's what we're going to be talking about today. So it has been a little while. Before I get into the stitching side of things, as I said, welcome to any new subscribers. I really hope you like what you see. I'd like to shout out a few people on Flosstube because I know that a lot of new subscribers have come to me through these shout outs, and I want to thank those people. Lindsay from Blushing Pink Stitches, you shouted me out a few weeks ago now. Thank you so much. She's got some fantastic pieces going on and she charts some wonderful full coverage pieces and has started designing her own. So thank you, Lindsay, for shouting me out, and I recommend having a look over there at Lindsay's channel. Next is Lost in Stitches. Lisa, thank you so much. We're having a bit of a shout out roundabout now because I mentioned to her a couple of Flosstubes ago that she was rather new to the community on Flosstube, and for everyone to go have a look. Lisa, you have, blown the Flosstube community away. Your pieces are amazing. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the amazing and lovely things that you had to say about my channel and stitching. Thank you. Lost in Stitches, Lisa, if you haven't already, you must go and have a look at her channel. And Johnny Saxon, who is a fellow Australian, recently shouted me out. He's fairly new to the Flosstube community, but really took everybody by storm with his first video. Thank you, Johnny. I really am so grateful, and I hope that you continue to make amazing videos for us to all enjoy. One other little shout out I'd like to mention is Angie at Angie Slowly Crafts. I was watching your channel, Angie, with my daughter Fleur. She's my youngest daughter and has gone into a bit of stitching and is considering making a Flosstube debut of her very own. Hopefully in the near future, once a little bit more progress has been made on her current whip. But I digress. She was watching your channel recently with me. We both enjoy watching your videos, and she casually said, "Mum, are you sure Angie knows that I'm also stitching a whip?" And at that very moment, Angie says, "I'd like to shout out a junior stitcher, Fleur," and the look on her face was incredible. It was truly a moment that we just really, really loved. So thank you. You made her day. So there's some thank yous that I want to, shout out on Flosstube here. Before we get into the stitching, I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. Usually I leave my wall of women until last. If you're new here, I use a hashtag on Instagram called Stitch Me Sane Wow, WOW, which stands for Wall of Women. And it is a vision of mine to create a phenomenal wall of masterpieces stitched by me, charted by all of you wonderful people out there, of strong, empowering, enabling female images. And so I call it my wow, my wall of women. And usually I leave that to the end of my videos, but today I'm going to kick off with it just to change things up a little bit. Then we'll move into my other whips that I've been working on, and because it's been a little while, I must warn you that I have more than usual to show you, which is not a bad thing because we all love to see everybody's whips here on Flosstube. I also have had a couple of new starts in that time, so we'll finish up with those and some plans for the coming few weeks. Hopefully it won't be as long. So kicking off with my wow, first of all, I'd like to thank Catherine at Stitchy Aardvark, Alison, the Stitching Whippet, and Jen, Jasmine Custom Bags. You've all jumped on the hashtag on Instagram, so thank you, because I welcome anyone who's stitching, you know, just an image that means something to them, a female image that, you know, gives them that sense of, yeah, this is a powerful kind of image, and it gives me those feels. Jump on the hashtag, would love to see you there. I should also mention that I'm very active on Instagram. If you want to come follow me, I post very regularly and interact daily with you all, so would love to see you over there. All right, Flosstube number 9. Let's get into the stitching and kick off with my Wall of Women. So the first piece I would like to show today is Crimson Blossom by the wonderful Paula at Contemporary Cross. I'll pop a photo up here of what it's going to look like when it's finished. I'm using the hashtag AnyEmmySell because the artwork is by Emmy Mustonen. Beautiful artwork. I'm stitching this piece extreme cross country, and sorry, I've just moved my pen over there to get my notes in a bit more order, and it is scaring me a little bit. I have to admit it's scaring me a little bit, but I'm also really enjoying the challenge. So for those of you who don't know, extreme cross country is where you pick one color, usually on a big full coverage piece, and you work that color until the very end, and then you pick another color and do the same thing. So I started with 939, good old 939. There's also a hashtag for that, 939 Anonymous, if you want to jump on board. And this is where I'm at. So as you can see, I don't have a lot. This is about a quarter of the overall finished piece. And I've been working little bit by little bit, just a strand at a time on the 939. I'll bring it in really close so you can see the detail there on each little section, if you like. So, oops, just lost that. I have actually come in on the edge. So there was a couple of stitches up the top here that started the border, and then when I come down to this next bit, there is a couple of stitches here that's also on the border. So I took great care, meticulous counting on repeat, to make sure that they lined up. They did. I was really pleased. So I was pretty confident to then continue down with the next patch. It's kind of broken down, but it all joins up, which really works. So there it is. I'm going to keep chipping away at the 939. There's 45,000 stitches in the no, I started at 47,000 stitches in the 939. So it's going to take a little while, but I really feel that once I get that first color in, oh wow, I've got so much freedom to just go where I want. I could pick a small color, like 200 stitches, or I could pick, you know, the 310, which has got even more than the 939, because this is not a small piece. This has got nearly 350,000 stitches and is actually my biggest whip. So there you go, Paula. This is officially my biggest whip. And to give you an idea, as I said, that was a quarter of the piece of fabric that we just looked at folded, and there it is in its entirety. It's a 28 count 1/1. I'm stitching 1/1 on a linen, and it is a beautiful linen. It's really thick, so it's really lending to full coverage quite well. It's not flimsy at all, and the slubs in it, whilst they're obviously clearly there, it's a linen, they're still quite balanced. So I'm really enjoying this fabric. Thank you, Paula. I'm going to keep going on this one, and let's see how far we can get. So that's my first wow piece for today. Next I have a Heaven and Earth design. I have officially now 6 Heaven and Earth designs going on, and this is one of them. I started this for my birthday last year, and the aim was to try and get 10% in a year and have the piece finished within a 10-year period. So far I'm excuse me, so far I am not on track at all for that goal. But I really hope to push it along and get it moving a little bit more. This is on 25 count Lugana, this one, so not a linen, and I'm stitching it 1/1. This is what it's going to look like when it's finished. And each time I look at this finished chart, the mock-up, there's something different in it every single time I look at it. I post it on Instagram, and you know, it really gets people's attention because there's just so much going on, but overall, clearly the female image is the centerpiece of it. So I'm hoping to kind of stitch over to the hair there. If I can find a picture of where I was last time I showed you, I will pop it in. If not, this is where I'm at now. So it's called Paradise Found, and the artist is Janelle Nickel. And as I said, it is charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and I'm stitching it on a 25 count 1/1 Lugana. It's a cream Lugana. It's not white. I think it might be antique white actually. My little needle minder, the top of it fell off because it was glued on. So I'm just plowing on with a magnet, which is not extremely attractive, but certainly practical and does the job. So I'll bring it in there. You can see that flower is really nearly finished. I have a few ninja stitches sitting around it. But I'm essentially going to stitch across here what I call that sort of lacy effect with the 310, which is actually 403, because I have subbed 403 anchor for the 310 DMC black on this piece, and I'm actually really liking the coverage. People say that it does get a little fluffier than the DMC. I can't really tell. It's working for me. I do apologise about the light today here in Melbourne. It's kind of overcast, but then the sun will come out, and as you can see, I'm wearing a jumper, which, you know, we're in April. We had 27 or nearly 30 degrees only 2 days ago, and now I'm wearing a woolly jumper, so it's certainly changing. So yeah, I really love this piece. And in fact, Angie from Angie Slowly Crafts has selected this piece for my Wheel of Stitches goal this month in April. So I've got to get 1,000 stitches in on this piece. So you're definitely going to see it again shortly. I'd actually like to do more than 1,000. We'll see. We'll see. And next, still going on with my Wall of Women, we have a recent new start actually, that I jumped on board the hashtag RIP, so RIP, rest in peace, my whips sell. It's becoming quite popular, and there was a lot of people that started full coverage pieces by Kaylee at the sewing shop, and it's really fun to watch everybody sort of start at the same time, where they've started, all the different colors, and you know, the progress being made. So that's a fun one, and I selected this piece. Does this not just take your breath away? Woo, love it. I've never stitched a circle before, and I was quite excited to do that and kind of watch the round come in. I've seen a few people on Flosstube with the circle pieces, and yeah, I really like the effect. So I went with the circle on this one. They're called Dandelion Girl Gang, Dandelion Fluff Girl Gang, and I think I've got number 2. I said this last time, I've got the number. I really should write that down. By Kelly Tenstitch, and at Angie Slowly Crafts also jumped on board, so she's doing one as well, and we've got the hashtag Dandelion Fluff Girl Gang, and there's a couple of others there. In fact, I think we have the collection. I think there's 5, so that's pretty exciting. Angie also chose this one as my March goal for Wheel of Stitches, and it was to make 1%, and I made it, and it's looking good, and this is where I'm at. So it's on a 28 count 1/1. Might just fold that and bring it in so I can see what's going on. Here we go. And in true Carla fashion, I didn't want to stitch the slab of 310 on the edge there, so kind of blocked it out with some 10 by 10 squares. You can see there the little extra stitch there that I put as a recognition on Pattern Keeper of the 10 by 10, and then that way I can continue to stitch out from those big slabs without getting bogged down with the block stitching, which is really good because it gives me, you know, flexibility on where I want to stitch. So I got to the 1%, I think it was 1.01 actually. Not a huge piece, I think it's 150 odd thousand, and the 28 count certainly makes that circle that little bit smaller again with the higher count fabric. Okay, next one's a little bit interesting. So I did show or mention that I wanted to get some work on this, my Maxine Gad piece. Noxolo. Love this piece. And I started it on a piece of fabric that I was a little bit tentative about. And I got some progress in since I last saw you. And then I decided that I wasn't happy with the coverage. I selected 1/1. I'm just going to put up the finished piece here so you know what I'm talking about, which piece, while I'm talking. And I think I got to about maybe 300 or 400 stitches. I started working with some darker colors because I was a little unsure still about the coverage. And then the moment happened, I just decided it wasn't going to work for me. So I pulled it all out. And here's my progress. I have a blank piece of fabric, but I'm really pleased because I think we all know that with these pieces and the Maxine Gad, this one is a max color, so there's 238 colors I think. You don't want to be sitting there slogging away at something for years and years with max color if you're not enjoying the coverage on your fabric. So my plan is to restart this one 2/1, and I think that it will, yeah, just give me that motivation then to really get a good start on it. I think that's why I've hesitated, because I was just so unsure about this fabric. It's quite strange. I'm not too sure what it is, honestly. I picked it up secondhand with a batch of other fabrics, and it certainly I mean, it's a cross-stitch fabric, but it's not anything I've ever had before, and it's difficult to try and get the effect here on camera, but you might be able to see it's slightly fluffy. And the holes are sort of bigger than Lugana or Linen or even Ada, but the count is still quite high. So it was sort of that the holes were not letting the 1/1, the one thread sort of just sit, you know, nice and plump. The more I stitch on it, I'm thinking it might even be an 18 count. And certainly I always stitch 2/1 on 18 count. So let's see how we go. Noxolo is going to get some love. I know Kaylee 10 Stitch is quite open to considering a Maxine Gad challenge in May, and others have expressed that might be something they're interested in as well. So stay tuned on that one. Oh my goodness, I'm still going with my wall of women. Okay, next is Summer Repose. I was making some progress with this one for the Stitch Asia hashtag on Instagram throughout the month of March. And I know that we're now in April, so I do apologize. But I actually got some good progress. This is what this piece is going to look like when it's finished. It's a really, well, I mean, it's still, I think, 32,000 stitch count. But in comparison to 350 on Crimson Blossom, it's relatively small. And the beauty of this one is it only has 11 DMC colors. It has a real sepia effect to it, and I'm quite delighted by as I work on it that it really is coming through. So I'm not too sure I have a photo of this one as to when you last saw it, because it's been a little while, but this is where I am at now. And this is a piece by Cross Stitch at Rinna on Instagram, or Etsy rather. I'm on an 18 count, 2/1 this piece is, and it's an Ada. I think it's called Rustico. And as you can see, I started in the center, and I sort of have now worked on her arm. So that's her arm coming down. This is her back, which is over here. So this is the small in her back, and then her bottom will come down here. But recently I pulled in this corner. So that's actually the edge now. which I'm really pleased with. I did post this one on Instagram. Instagram doesn't like it. I've got a few pieces that Instagram doesn't like. They think it's a bit rude. I say it's art and it really frustrates me. But anyway, there's not a lot I can do about it. Let me bring that in so you can see the blend of the 11 shades. Look at how well that works. And then with the 310, outlining it, that contrast is just, whoo, I really like this. So as I said, I mean, you can see it's not actually that big, and I probably think I'm maybe about 20%. So that's probably one that I really should give a little bit more solid love, and we'll see a bit of action there, I think. Okay, lucky last for my wow, and that is, oh, I actually saved this one for last because I've made the most progress on this one. Since I last saw you, I've put in, I think, nearly 2,000 stitches, and this is my favorite fairy floss stunner, Delphine. There's a few people stitching this one on Instagram now, and we've all started in different spots, which is great. I love seeing, you know, the different spots take shape. I started in the center, typical, you know, sort of me. That's usually where I start my bigger full coverages. This is on the same linen as Crimson Blossom, so the 28 count white linen that I really love. And this was where I was at last time you saw it. Pretty sure I showed it to you recently. I really am enjoying this, and I just kept going and going, and this is where I am at now. So this is a chart by Kaylee Tent Stitch. Oops, there goes all of my park threads. So as you can see, I've got the neck really coming in now. So on either side, that's her neck with her chin, and I got a little carried away and stitched up to the start of her lip, or maybe the outline of her lips. It's still looking maybe not quite like something yet, although I can definitely see it coming in. Look at that. I'll pull it back a little bit. But I'm at 2.24% now, and this one's close to 200,000. But let me just, you can really see the blending going on in that skin. I'll just bring it in nice and close. There's a lot of colors in there already. The light's playing tricks on me. And I've still got quite a few ninja stitches, but I really am trying to not just stitch anywhere and not fill in the blanks on this one. So you can see I've got a bit of block stitching here. I think that's maybe 712, and the shadowing on this one is really so extreme, but when it comes in completely, I think it's going to look phenomenal. So that's the last of my wall of women pieces for today. As I said, stitch me saying wow, jump on the hashtag if you're interested. I would love to see your interpretation of my wow, and join me over there on Instagram. So if you are new here, it's pretty clear that I'm primarily a full coverage stitcher. It's not everything that I work on, and certainly my big wow pieces as not everything I work on either. It's usually about a half-half balance. So now we're going to get stuck into those other pieces. The first one, oh goodness, I've had a bit of a rough month with frogging. This one was another one I was working on for the Stitch Asia hashtag in March. It's the Alice by DonaStitch. You might all be pretty familiar with these pieces. There's the, you know, full, I think, set of 10 Disney collection, and they're just amazing. They're block color stitching. They look so, you know, identifiable. Like you can immediately tell that it belongs to that collection, and I am partial to them all. So this is, I'm actually stitching two, but this is the Alice in Wonderland one, and I started a stitch along with my friend Barbara at Stitch Brat, and we tried to make some progress on this in March, but I failed dismally because I think every time I worked on it, I then had to frog what I worked on. And I felt like it was 2 steps forward, 500 steps back. But I did get a little bit of progress. This is what it's going to look like when it's finished. And this is where I was at last time. So I think you'll notice a little difference. This is on that 28 count linen, and I have pulled in that sort of teacup outline around the white rabbit. Now as the light comes in there, you can probably see over on the side here, there's a big chunk as in the finished mock-up you saw that the background was blue, and the thread that they've given me in the kit is more a pearl grey. So that's an obvious and notable difference that you might be thinking, is she stitching the same piece? I am, but that's what happened. And look, I've continued on because I think it's quite pretty, and the grey still really works. So I've nearly got a full page finish. Almost. You can see a couple of ninja stitches there. I posted a couple of up close shots of this one on Instagram recently, and they were quite popular, so thank you for the love. It does boost my confidence in you know, those up closes can be a little vulnerable sometimes to show your stitching like that. Look at those colors though, I love it. So I think I'm going to continue coming into the deer. This is the ear here, those big splashes of color. And actually I was really looking quite closely at the chart, and there is a lot of back stitching in multiple different colors that comes down into the body, which is quite a complex full coverage sort of section down in the body, which I haven't reached yet because I've really been working on sort of bringing in that background and not leaving it until the end on this one, which is what I often do. And I've just got a bulldog clip there. I know a lot of people don't recommend those to hold fabric. They do have a tendency to rust. I don't leave them on. It's just when I'm working on them. So, and I make sure that they're not those old rusty ones. So that's Colourful Deer. And I reckon I'm probably 25% on that one as well. Look at me with all these quarter finished whips going on that I could just smash out if I tried, I guess. Oh goodness, and my frogging journey continues, everyone. It has been a frogging month, let me tell you. Next up, we have Glitch, which I used to jump onto the Dark Side of Stitching sale by E Colorado on Instagram. If you're stitching on a dark piece of fabric like a black or a navy, really fun sale to watch. I know they're tough pieces for a lot of people. So I guess it's motivating to see others, you know, having the same kind of issues with seeing those little holes in the dark fabric and needing good light. This piece is by the Vivsters from Etsy, and it's called Glitch, and it is glitching my brain. Let me say that. I should really show you what it's going to look like. So I'll pop that up. I don't have a photo, I don't think, of where you last saw it because I don't show this one very often. Now we'll go back to where I'm at. So here we are. It also has DMC light effects in this one. The let's just get that here. The green and the yellow there. That's light effects, which I find rather tricky to stitch with, but gee, it looks fantastic. Now, back to the froggings. So this is an 18 count 2/1 aider, and I came in here to work on, it was, I think, the yellow recently. And when I did that, I realized that this entire section on the bottom here is actually out a couple of stitches. So I'm going to frog it. I am, because this piece is already a little tricky to line up because the pages, they're page breaks essentially. And I know that if I try and fudge it, it's just not going to work. It's going to cause my brain far more grief than to just spend a good hour frogging that and getting back on with it. So yeah, stay tuned. This one is also 25%. 25%, and I truly love it. Like the colors, oh, I've got a bit of sunlight, so I'm going to bring it in again. Those colors are incredible. I mean, I know they look good on camera, but in real life, oh, they're even better. Yeah, Vivsys has done a wonderful job in creating this, because there's no way I would have come up with something like that. Love that chart. She's got some wonderful pieces. I highly recommend checking out her Etsy store actually. If you like color and want something a bit bigger with some bright bold colors, go to. Okay, next. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. We are working through it. Okay, so again, Barb, my friend from Stitch Brat, we started this one for her birthday in 2021. It's a Sal birthday dessert Sal. I've been posting this one quite a lot. This is what it's going to look like. If you're new here, you're going to learn that I love Carolyn Manning designs. They are bright, they're colorful, they're pretty, they're meaningful. There's so many wonderful choices. They're easy to stitch. They can be difficult to stitch depending on which one you choose. I really recommend Carolyn Manning designs. Great place to also start for a full coverage. She's got a lot of, this one that I'm going to show you now, Carrot Cake. It's a full coverage piece, but it doesn't require you to get really bogged down with, 100 colors and really years and years worth of work. So this is a great place if you want a full coverage piece, but don't kind of want that artwork sort of style. This is where I was at last time I showed you, and I was really excited because I brought that corner in, and I thought, right, I'm going to keep stitching that corner sort of method, and I want to ultimately outline the entire piece and then bring those points out, the 4 points, because I went for the center start originally. This is where I'm at now. It's on an 18 count Rustico Aider 2/1, and I have just brought in the other corner since you last saw it. Oh, look at that. Oh, perfect. Just as the light kind of comes out for me, that works really well. I hope it's working as well for you because it's looking really good for me. I'm pretty proud of this one at the moment. And I'm at 37.48% now. I've been making some pretty regular progress on this one. Not a lot of stitches every day, but just regular, which is really helping. Look at those colors. Now, I have substituted some anchor threads in here for some of the DMC. It is always the color alternate, so it's as close as possible, but I have a huge collection of anchor threads, and more often than not, we know that charts are charted with DMC. I use an app called Thread Stash, which now has a fantastic, you can just select the alternate color and anchor is always there, so it's really handy. Okay, so that's Carrot Cake by Carolyn Manning Designs. And yeah, Barb's also been making some progress on this one too. I don't want to call it yet, but I'm going to see how I go with this one this year. Okay, speaking of Carolyn Manning designs, would it be a Stitch Me Sane floss tube without multiple for me to show you? I have a travel piece, Unicorn, you're probably familiar with it, and this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. I'm stitching it as 4 separate pieces, so I'm going to have 4 separate finishes when I finish this piece, and each of my 3 daughters and I are going to have a little piece of Unicorn. And I've said in the past that I've been struggling to figure out who's going to get which of the 4 squares, and I have nailed down one definite, and that is which one I'm going to keep for myself. So today I'm actually going to show you all 4 of them, and I'm going to start with the one that I was working on last time we were together, and this is, I'll put up a pic of this one. I'm pretty sure I can track that down for you. And then this is where I'm at now. So they're pretty small. It's from the Tent Makers collection, and this is a 20 count 2/1. So that's where I'm at now. I've brought in the center there. Again, this one has some anchor subs, everyone. So it's nearly, it doesn't bother me, but it does have a few. Look at that. Oh, I love this one. This is not the one I'm keeping, by the way. The overall piece, I'm pretty excited. I'm at 37.45% now on this piece. So I think it's about 27,000 stitch count. And I usually make between 500 and 1,000 stitch progress probably every month. It is my travel piece, so I only work on it when I am out and about, waiting, usually for my kids in the car or at sport or friends or whatever they might be up to. So yeah, I worked pretty solidly on that one for a little while. 20 count 1/1. This one is probably the one that has the least amount of progress that I probably should get going on actually. So here's the next one. I haven't shown you this one in a little while. That's really pretty too. They don't all have all of the charted colors in each of the 4, so there's like a combination, if you like, of the overall charted colors in each of the 4. I think one doesn't have a white, one doesn't have a purple, but they all just blend so beautifully, and you can tell that they're part of the same overall piece. So that one's really pretty, and that's probably the one where I'm the least further through the center. I think is still yet to come in. This one I actually worked on for quite a little while and did show you for a number of floss tubes. So this one's also very, very pretty. So as you can see, I've got some pretty good progress on each of them. That one has come into the center. The grey square there's the center on this one. And they're a little bit different to the Shooting Star collection, which are just solid shapes. These Tent Maker Smalls get a little more interesting because, as you can see, they've got the lines. So you do have to pay a little bit more attention to your chart and not quite go off on a 5x5, diamond stitchy tangent, which I have done way more times than I should have because I've been working on it for a while now. So that's that one. And lucky last, this is the one that I've decided is going to be mine. So I actually started this square when I went to South Africa, which was officially a year ago. And so I decided to, remember that trip. I'm going to pull it out and start working on it again. I intentionally haven't worked on it throughout that year until the anniversary arose. And I'm really pleased to pull it out because it has I feel every stitch has a memory. So this one's definitely going to be mine, and I'm going to keep this one still on the hoop because I'm now working on this one, and this is where we're at. So I actually just pulled in this little green square up here, and as I said, it can get a little bit fussier than some of the other Carolyn Manning designs like the Shooting Star or Broken Star collections. But ultimately they're still full coverage and got that symmetry sort of, easy stitching. Yeah, so that one's going to be mine. So that's all the Carolyn Manning you're going to get today. Now I'm going to show you my 2 new starts that I've made, and I'm so excited about both of these. They're both not really my usual style, and I think that's why I'm really enjoying them. The more you sort of stick with me, the more you'll realize I do have a bit of a style, but I'm quite happy to just go off and stitch something that grabs my eye as well. And it did come to my attention that the last video I went to show you my Olga Gostin collection of historical houses that I had gathered, all secondhand, mind you, from various different sources and sites and things like that. And I only showed you half the collection. So to kick off my latest, no, not my latest, my second latest new start, I'm going to actually show you where it has been inspired from, and that is collecting these Australian Heritage Architecture DMC kits by Olga Gostin. So they kind of broken into Queensland. So for anybody who's not familiar, here in Australia we have states. Queensland is one of those states, and usually I think when you think of Australia and you think sunny beaches and humid hot weather, that's what you're thinking, that's Queensland. And then the other set is broken into more what I would describe Victorian sort of inspired pieces, and that is the state that I live in, and the climate is not as hot and humid as Queensland, and you can see the distinction, I guess, in these pieces. So I'll quickly flick through the Victorian ones. We've got the Old Federation House. So that looks like lots of fun. And then we have the Victorian Freestanding House. And the Old Timber House. Oh, got a glare there. Oh, look at that. Jacaranda tree. I love that. And there is another one that I do own, but my mum has taken that one to stitch because she's going to start it at some point in time, and it will let me just get to it. The other one in the Victorian collection is the Queen Anne, and this one is my new start. So we'll get to that. Now the Queensland one. So as you can see, the style is a little different. So Queenslander houses generally are raised and they sit on stilts. Because of the humidity and the heat up there to try and keep things cooler. So that one I think is amazing. They've all got so many French knots and backstitching. I mean, these here, they're all French knots just cascading down off of the veranda there. Oh. Similar to this one, those flowers are all French knots. But gee, how cool do they look? Look at the intricacy on the fences and the lace. I think that's what you call it, the lace. You know, the sort of metal lace that goes around the verandas. And lucky last is this one. So I love them all. There's still a few more that I need to collect, which I'll work on. But I think part of the process and the fun for me is seeing if I can source them secondhand. So leading into my new start, my friend Barb and we kicked off a stitch along on Instagram called the Historic Houses Sell. After showing you those, although we've already started, this is an open sale, and if something there has inspired you to find a historical house in your country or anything that grabs your fancy, jump on board. It is so much fun. Thank you to everyone who has jumped on board so far. I am loving it, and it is really motivating me to continue working almost daily on my Queen Anne. So Mum took one of the kits that I can't show you because she's considering jumping on board the sale as well. And this is the one that I have chosen. I really like it. I started up here in the stained glass window up there. So let me show you where I'm at. I went with a Aida fabric, of which I thought was 16 count, but the more I stitch on it, I actually think it's 18 count now. I don't know how I got confused there, but I'm thinking it is because the stitches are just a little smaller. And this is where I am at. Look at that. you can see the window really taking shape, and then I'm coming down there into the side of the building with the next stained glass here. Those stained glasses are trickier than they look. There's 2 pinks and 2 greens in each of the windows, so they do get a little fussy and finicky. And then I actually started on the sky, which is a half stitch, so a 10th stitch if you like, which has been quite fun because I don't usually work with a 10th stitch. It does go very quickly. I was pleased to see how quickly that came in. So there's the start of my Queen Anne. And yeah, Barb and I are having so much fun. If you want to join us, Historic Houses Sell on Instagram. And there's just the list of people who have jumped on board. It's too long for me to list them here, but I am so grateful. I am loving it. There you go. So stay tuned for that one. And stay tuned because I might even start another one at some point. I mean, I have so many that I could just throw out there and contribute to this sale probably for years to come. Okay, so on that note, we are up to my final piece that I'd like to show you today, noting that we're at 45 minutes, and thank you if you are still here with me. This is an interesting new start. HAED, Heaven and Earth Designs, recently had a sale, a 50% off sale, as they quite regularly do, and the last one that they had, I managed to resist temptation and didn't purchase anything. This time around, I decided to select something that was a little outside of what I usually would. When I saw it, it just cracked me up. I thought, I have to stitch that. This is what it is. It's called the BIG Pig. Isn't it incredible? The pocket, just the detail, the difference in stitching pig skin as opposed to human skin, the little fluffy extra bits and details when I look at the chart. So I guess a little bit of the inspiration, not a little, the inspiration behind this piece is my partner Dylan is a fully fledged author. He is so passionate about writing. And I've been looking for a little while for something that sort of resembles or reflects that. And nothing has really jumped out. And then I saw this piece and I just had to have it. It's great. He loves it, loves it, loves it, and encouraged me to start ASAP. So that's what I did. And I started this last night. So it's fresh off the press. I haven't even posted it on Instagram yet, although I probably will before this video is uploaded because we all know that takes yonks. It's big, 280. And I'm stitching it on the same white 28 count 1/1 linen. So given I only started last night, it's a reasonably small start, but I will show you where I'm at. And Dylan actually selected where I would start on this one, and it's not a center start, which has thrown me a little bit because usually that's how I get comfortable with my charts, but he's gone for the center top. So the books and then coming down and sort of expanding out to the pig's face because he'd really like to see the pig's face take shape. So here we are. That's my little start there on the BIG Pig. Stay tuned. I think this one will be a regular feature and I would like to see regular progress on this one. Thanks for the support, Dylan. It's coming. So on that note, that's all my stitching progress that I have to show you in the last month that I've seen you. I do have a few plans for the month of April, although we're already like nearly a third into it. Angie selected my Wheel of Stitches choice, which this month I spun 1K. So 1K stitches, and she chose Paradise Found, as I've already mentioned. Alicia chose, would you believe it? Yes, which also has a pig in it. So I think it's going to be a bit of a pig month for me over here at Stitch Me Sane. And sticking in tune with animals, I just thought I'd like to point out, I do often like to change my little backdrop to suit this sort of, you know, where we're at in the year. It is Easter. And these are two little things that my mum has made over the years that I thought I'd just put there and maybe share with you. So she made this little fabric bunny, and then has also hand stitched on that little face there, and it's really quite cute. It's actually got a little metallic on the fabric, so it's quite shiny, and that just sits in one of my girls' rooms. And she also made this one at some point for Easter. I think this, I forget sometimes, we have so many beautiful things that my mum has made, I forget who this one was for, but she made this one as well from scratch. She's got the floppy ears and then stitched on face again. There, with some little whiskers, which are pretty cute, and buttons for eyes. And see, Mum gets right into the detail. Like, she even found little hobby shoes with some little socks to put on the feet there. And then under the dresses, also some handmade pants as well. So it's all handmade, the whole body, you know. And then she stuffs it with hobby fill. Very talented. So anyway, they're two little treasures that we sort of have at Easter time. So yeah, if you do celebrate, enjoy. I'm just, yeah, taking a bit of time out. It has been a very, very busy month, and it's nice just to slow down a little bit and catch up on some stitching. Thank you so very much if you are still here, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope I don't leave it as long. To see you again next time. And please subscribe, comment, like, come join me on Instagram. As I said, that's where I'm pretty just regular in my daily sort of socials, and I'd love to see your progress as well. So yes, thank you so much. Happy stitching, everybody. Take care.